Hello and welcome to a session I'm calling Pilates Splitsville. This will include hamstring and hip flexor stretching to help us find our splits. You will need a mat, a pillow, a towel, perhaps even a squishy ball if you have one of those nearby. Also, a yoga block may be a good substitute for the squishy ball. Lying on our mat, let's bend the knees into the chest, wrapping arms around the legs, and breathing down into our low back and hips. A little bit of canine interference here at the beginning. Now I'm going to use a squishy ball. You could use a pillow as well if you don't have a squishy fitness Pilates ball, or even a yoga block is helpful. Placing our sacrum on top of this object, we're going to reach the legs up to the ceiling. Arms are a little bit wide, and we're going to slice the legs in 3, 2, 1, and then switch. Pulse, 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 and switch. Slice, slice, slice. Toes pointed. Legs keep stretching and reaching. Breath stays flowing, heart stays open. Flexing the feet. 2 pulses. And switch. Pulse, pulse, and switch. Go back to pointed toes for single leg scissor switches. Bending the knees in, and then extend one leg up to the ceiling and the other leg down towards the ground. Bend them in again and switch the leg that is up to the ceiling. You keep alternating bend and extend, and bend and extend. Let's move into bicycle legs. Full range of motion. Find the split within that bicycle move, where both legs for a brief moment are extended. Flex the feet, reverse the bicycle. Legs together at the top. Flex the feet and take the legs wider into that lateral split. Feet stay flexed, reach into the heels. Use those inner thighs now. Split and bring them back in, moving into a helicopter move. So you split, one leg goes up to the ceiling, the other leg circles down towards the ground, and then just alternate. So you split and slice together. Split, switch the leg, that's up to the ceiling, and bring it back together. This one takes a lot of focus and coordination practice. Let one leg completely drop down, so heel on the floor. Keep the other leg lifting to the sky. Bend that knee into the chest, holding with 1 or even 2 hands. Enjoy this little hip flexor moment. And switch. So one leg reaching up to the sky, the other heel, leg long, dropping down to the ground. Breathe in. Exhale, bend that top knee, holding with one hand or both hands. Relax the bottom leg. Feel the stretch from the hip to the quad. Maybe even up into the low abdomen. And reach both legs long, arms overhead in this total body stretch with more extension if you have anything under your low back and sacrum. Bring the feet to the mat. Let's lift the hips up to remove anything that we may be lying on. Placing that object right between the knees for a little extra squeeze into the center. Keep the feet hip width apart, toes forward, parallel legs, And lift the hips up, neutral bridge, squeezing into the center as you lift and exhale. Less squeeze as you inhale and lower, more squeeze as you exhale. Lift, drawing knees, inner thighs in towards the middle. Exhale up and squeeze. Inhale, control it down. Stay up at the top, squeeze in a little deeper, give me a little bit more activation. Squeeze, 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 and let that squeeze also be in the abdomen. Lowering down for 2 squeezes and lifting up for 2 squeezes. When you lower, you're just hovering the hips, then you're lifting the hips higher for 2 squeezes at the top, hover for 2 squeezes at the bottom. Keep that going. Let's keep the hips up and lift one hip higher than the other and rock the hips and pelvis. One hip drops, the other hip lifts. Keep the squeeze between the knees and in the abdomen. Every exhale, more activation. Come back to the center and let's pulse, pulse, pulse. Exhale up, exhale up, exhale, pulse. And pulse. More abs drawing in, extend the arms to the sky, fingertips long, palms facing in. Try to reach that tailbone up towards the ball or whatever is between the knees. Hold the hips steady and slice the arms like scissors. Keep the arms overhead and let's slow motion lower our spine down to the ground. Bring knees into the chest and rock it out side to side. And then holding underneath the legs, let's just shake the feet out a little bit. Bring back any circulation into the lower legs. Total body stretch. Exhale up into a roll up. And a forward fold over those legs at the top. Coming down onto your front body, legs are as wide as the mat in our external rotation, moving into a swan. Bend the elbows so that the elbow, the forearm, and the palm and fingertips can stay down to the ground. Check if your shoulders are popping up, and if so, take the elbows a little wider. Exhale, press up into your swan. Catch a little inhale at the top and exhale, lower down. Inhale at the bottom before we start the swan again. So inserting those inhales in between the action. Feel a nice stretch in the abdomen and front of the hips at the top of the swan. And exhale, lengthen the swan back down to neutral spine. Add a look over the shoulder at the top. And through the center, lower down. Press up again and look over the other shoulder. Bring it back to the center and lower it down. Exhale to press. Rotate the look at the top. Lower through the middle and exhale. Reach those toes long behind you. And lower it down. Bring one hand closer than the other so that elbow pops up. And we're going to do the swan with the look. Switch the position of the arms and do the swan with the look the other way this time. Lower down and switch the arms. One elbow is popped. Press up and look over that bent elbow. See if you can see the toes behind you. Lower it down. Switch the position of the arms and press up with a look. Brings you into a little twist, a very subtle rotation. Back to the center and release down. Good job. Rest the forehead on the stacked hands, bend the knees and sway the legs side to side. Drawing little circles with the legs, down and around and swaying in, twisting side to side. And then just kicking one leg then the other. Just bringing back some blood flow into the lower legs. Let's visit the quadricep stretch again, holding with either one hand or both hands. Try to bring the knees a little closer together. Press the foot into the hands, straighten the arms, and lift the upper body away from the ground for a moment before lowering back down, relaxing deeper into that quad stretch. Switch sides, holding with one hand or even both hands. Try to keep the knees a little close to the center. Let the foot press into the hands and the upper body extends away from the mat. And then use your exhale breath to relax and lower back down deeper into the quad stretch. And release that. Bring one arm open to a T shape, bend the opposite knee, and twist, trying to tap that toe towards the floor and maybe that extended T arm, the hand can reach to the foot. Stretch your other arm away in opposition, bringing the side of the face down to the ground. Great stretch for the hip, quad, a twist, a back bend, and a shoulder and chest stretch. Let's switch sides. So one arm T-shapes, the opposite knee bends, and then we're going to lift that knee and try to tap the toe down to the ground, finding a little contact between that tapping toe and that T-shape arm. Extend the bottom leg long, and the top arm reaches away, and then up to the ceiling, and return to center. Elbows under shoulders. Let's lift the chin to the sky. Make a little kissy face here, just to stretch through the muscles in the face and jaw. Then find yourself in an elbow plank, curling toes and straightening the legs as long as you can. Bring the chin into the throat. Lift the abs up and into the body. Press the palms down where the elbows were. Come up into a straight arm higher plank now. Rest knees to the mat. Let's find a cat stretch. Arch the spine and inhale, and round the spine and exhale. Let the arms participate. Palms pressed down, long arms as you round the spine. Let the shoulder blades draw together as we arch the back, looking upwards. Stay here in your arched back and just look side to side for a moment. I'm going to use a pillow for this next series. Under one knee, big step forward with the other foot into a lunge. Let's come up a little higher, bringing hands to that top leg, lift the chest, allow the hips to drop and sink into gravity. Bring one hand on either side of that front foot and let's sit back flexing the front foot. And then rotate externally and internally. Let the hips and pelvis move. Try to keep the spine long. Bend into that front knee again, dropping hips forward. And then take the opposite arm away from the ground, up and overhead into a side bend. Looking up, breathing in. Looking down, bring that top hand behind the head. Support the neck and get some more openness in the rib cage, lats. One hand on either side of that front foot again. Let's sit back again. This time keep the front leg straight as we point and flex the foot, move from the ankle. See if the toes can tap down and then lift to the sky. chest forward, tailbone back. Bend into that front knee. Both arms reaching up enthusiastically, heart to the sky, looking up. Find a back bend. Keep your balance, stay confident. Bring palms together and lower down. Sit back one more time, straightening the front leg, and see if the nose can make contact with that knee. That back hip is hiked up. Most likely we're going to drop it down. So here's where we isolate movement in the hips and pelvis. So we're lifting the hip, dropping the hip. Try to keep the front leg straight and the foot flexed. Inhale, lift, exhale, drop. Try to stay with the hips a little bit more dropped. Bend into that front knee again and take a little toe walk forward with the front foot. Inching forward a few inches, can the hips drop lower? Sitting back just to straighten the leg and bending into the front knee. Another little toe walk forward. Take your time, everything's fine. So we're just shifting back and forward here, shifting the hips back to straighten the front leg and then toe walking forward into eventually sliding or gliding that heel out, taking the hips side to side, rocking and breathing, staying calm. Might need to put a pillow underneath that front leg or keep the front knee bent, of course. Twisting towards the front leg, we'll look over that back shoulder. Holding the mat a little bit behind us, we'll move into a back bend, looking up. Let's lift the chin, let the head drop, breathe in, and send this over the front leg into a forward bend. So we're just moving in this splits position, allowing the muscles to relax, to stretch, but allowing the mind to stay calm, cool, collected. Let this be a metaphor for those really difficult situations in life that we just breathe through. Take it slow, be mindful. Option to bend the back knee. Really increase the stretch in the quadricep and hip flexor. Using that same side arm to draw the foot a little closer, front foot flexed. Happy thoughts. Increase your balance, maybe lifting the other hand up and overhead and finding a bind with the hands. Toes resting in the elbow crease. Slowly release the arms. Release the legs. Take your time. Move very thoughtfully, folding one knee forward, other leg to the side and back. Let's just send this into a side body stretch. Holding the top arm with the bottom hand, and then drop the hand down and let's lift up and overhead, lift the hips up and away from the ground. Press the hips forward into a side bend and a back bend. Let that top arm spiral open before lowering the hips down. Wowee. Bend the top knee so the foot crosses over the bottom leg. And just sit up tall, pulling that knee towards the chest. Stay calm. Just letting the hips cool down. Letting the nervous system calm down. And we've made it to side number 2. Just bringing a knee on top of a pillow if you'd like that extra cushioning support. I'm actually using just my hat to help my other foot glide forward into the final expression of the splits because I don't like the pressure of my heel, my front heel, into the floor. It's too much pressure for my heels, so I'm just going to cushion that up as well. Bend the front knee, bring one hand to either side. Let the hips drop forward and then lift the hands to that top leg or to that front leg. I'm doing really controlled little slow pulses here just to encourage the range of motion. Bring the hands down again, one on either side. Sit back and let that front leg straighten, foot flexed, and let's rotate externally and internally. Breathe in. Breathe out. Bend into that front knee. And let's send it into a side bend. So opposite arm is lifting up and reaching over that front leg, looking up to the sky. Great stretch for the hip flexor. Really love the feeling of this one. Move the hand behind the head and look up. Increase the stretch through the shoulder. And then lower back down again, one hand on either side of the front foot. Sit the hips back, flex the front foot, and let's point and flex here. Find your ankle joint. Try to keep the spine long. I know the spine wants to round, but try to keep lifting from the tailbone. Bend into that front knee. Breathe in. Let's lift both arms high to the sky. Lots of energy here, lifting up and over. Find the back bend. Have to really stabilize in the hips and that front foot pressing down. Then spiral the arms open and down. Take a moment to recover. Let's sit the hips back, straightening the front leg. Focus on the hips and pelvis, hiking and dropping. Usually we're hiking the hips anyway. So let's try focusing on the dropping of that hip. So hike, just to feel what that's like, and then exhale, drop. Most likely you're going to feel the stretch more when the hip is dropped. Try to keep the hip a little bit dropped and bend into that front knee. Bring the chest forward and start to toe walk. Inch the toes forward. Breathe in. Keep the placement of the feet and shift the hips back. Extend the front leg just for a moment before bending in to that front knee again. Another bit of a toe walk. Hips keep getting lower and lower. The distance between the back knee and the front heel keeps expanding. Shift the hips back again. Bend into that front knee again. Stay here and breathe. You can always use lots of pillows underneath that front leg. I have a cushion now underneath my front heel as I extend the leg forward. One side is always going to feel a little different than the other. If one side feels much more challenging, probably spend a little bit more time on that side. Let's find the edges of the mat, reach the arms, fingers behind you, and lift the heart up to the sky. Openness across the chest. Let the head fall back. Breathe, breathe in. And then fold forward over that front leg. Inhale to look forward, lift the chest, and exhale to release. I'm also just looking at the position of the foot, so I don't want my big toe to be closer than my baby toe. Try to even out in your ankle. Maybe bending the back knee. Can glide the toes towards the elbow crease of the same side arm. Stay for a moment and breathe. Happiness and joy. Your body is amazing. Front foot flexed. Yeah, no problem. You got this. Maybe, nope, maybe not. And maybe you just release, or you can try lifting the other arm up and overhead, binding the hands. Then a slow motion release of the legs. Folding one leg to the front and the other leg to the side and back. Let's lift that arm up and over the legs, holding with the bottom hand to explore some more side body bending. And then place that top arm down. Let's sweep the other arm up and overhead into one of my favorite back bends. Side bends, back bends. Sweeping the arm open as we lower the hips down. Take that back leg and just slowly cross it up and over so the foot is on the opposite side of that bottom leg. And just hug and hold the knee nice and close for a few breaths. Let the hips soften. Let the tension dissipate. Bring the hands behind you and gently rock the legs side to side. Extending legs long, just shaking out the knees, doing a little tapping in the quads and hips. One more spine stretch over the legs before slowly rolling down onto your back into a total body stretch. Interlace the hands, reach overhead, and then just let the legs relax, open, flopping open to the side. The arms drift down by the side, palms up. Close the eyes. Let your body rest and recover. Even out the inhale to the exhale and get lost in the space in between the breath. Thank you for joining me, everyone. Hopefully your hips and legs have had a brand new experience today, one that will not be forgotten soon. Until next time.